lovelies. Thanks for joining us here at Moonstar Lodge. We are exactly halfway through this 5th moon cycle with the pending full moon on Monday, and it's a doozy. We are in the indigenous lunar moon cycles of Listening Woman. And as I spoke 2 weeks ago with her new moon, I gave a very in-depth analysis of what this grandmother teaches us. So I'm not going to go into that. But looking at this full moon, it's a doozy. I have made connection with U.S. Geological Services. I've listened to some solar astrologers hypothesize. We've just, in the last couple days, moved into Taurus. Taurus is in solar astrology, a very relaxed, very deep, slow-moving, easy-going, earth-based sign. However, with this full moon, and it's a perigee or a supermoon on Monday, we have a lot of tossing of the cards in the air because it's a full moon in Scorpio. So Scorpio is a water sign, but the Scorpios are cut to the point, nasty, quick. And I mean that in a loving way because Brian is Scorpio and he's standing there at the camera. This is about no bullshit. We have to face what this full moon is bringing to us. And this grandmother is bringing us the concept of listening because the previous grandmother was Looks Far woman, the grandmother who could take us into the future and help us organize what we need to do to make things happen in the way we want. And certainly in this pandemic, which we are so tired of, and with these extra waves of people and 600,000 people a day in India becoming ill, it's a time for great fear, and we're sick of these waves and openings and closings. So the previous grandmother of the 4th moon cycle was saying, look ahead, what do we want to create? This grandmother is saying, it's fine to look ahead, but you have to listen. You have to listen to the Creator. You have to listen with a sense of honesty. So the fact that we have this incredible perigee moon, and when the moon is this close to the earth, wild things happen. The U.S. Geological Service is saying to prepare for flooding. My grandmothers, who were healers in the shamanic community I participate in, look for how to help people who have things like high blood pressure, congestive heart failure. If you're pregnant, are you swelling? Are your legs swelling? Do you get migraines? This is the kind of moon that brings on some strong physical responses to the pull. The Bay of Fundy, if it would normally go to 40 feet, is going to go to 80 feet in its cycle of ebb and flow of the tide. This is very much about an ebb and flow moon. So Brian and I decided to put this together a full day ahead, to get it out there, to give people an opportunity to listen and to not react. Because Scorpio is about facing things and dealing with them unemotionally to a point. But this full moon is so close, it's casting a lot of light on our shadow selves. So the no BS part of the Scorpio aspect is saying, look, just go into it. Go into your Gnostic consciousness. Accept that you're having the feelings that you're feeling. Have compassion for the feelings that you're feeling, but deal with it. So this you know, we're close to Beltane, which is the full moon in April typically. So there's a lot of layers. This is like a wild lasagna of things. So you can be a victim, or you can be proactive and co-creative with the divine, because clearly spirit, the all that is, manifests what we send out. It reflects back. So the cards today, I grabbed a lot of different decks in thinking about what are the issues. So I did not bring out Judith Pintar's deck, which in over a year of doing these videos now, those of you who follow us regularly will say, oh no, where's Judith? But no, I had to grab some really different decks today. So I grabbed the Shadowland Tarot from somebody who's becoming a friend, Monica Bodirski. She may not be my friend now that I just tripped my tongue over her name. But Monica, her Shadowland Tarot, she's very clear. What you see is what you get. And so I pulled out her Shadowland Tarot. I pulled out her Lenormand, the 5th edition. This is a beautiful House of Shadows Lenormand. And then I grabbed a beautiful deck that I just got by Patrick Scheller. It's the Monde Nacht Lenormand. I haven't used a lot of Lenormand decks, but Patrick, I found his deck on Etsy, and he actually has the beginner deck, like the original 36 cards, but then he's got add-on cards that take it up to 70. And so I felt that because it's the night moon Lenormand, that's all about this moon and shadow work. I did pull out the Naked Heart to kind of give some balance. And so I've got different cards in the positions, and Brian will photograph this layout, and I'm going to go through it. There are a lot of cards here today. I've also got cards from Alberto Violdo and Colette Baron Reed on shamanism. Not the usual deck. This is the new deck. And let's just get at it. So I've started the medicine wheel layout here in the east because we are in the east. And the very first card that I drew was the 7 of Wands, okay, talking about fear and introversion and victim mode. And so I thought I would pull a Naked Heart card, and I get the Fool. So what is this telling us? This is telling us with this full moon shining a very close, clear light on cutting out what isn't serving us emotionally and spiritually. We cannot go into victim mode. We cannot go into a fear space. We cannot lose our light, our inner light. And so the Fool here is saying we are going on another level of journey. We are beginning a cycle. It's called the hero's journey, but how do we go into that? We go into that if we go fearfully, being dragged, like mom dragging us through the grocery store when we're 3. This is not starting out well. So Spirit is warning us to really get out of our head and get out of our fear. When I pull the cards, fear and the opposite side of fear, call that what you will, it's dominant all through this entire reading. So there's a couple of ways to manage that. So this is the 9 of Wands. Again, it's a reflection card. It's about taking some time back to look at what we have manifested. So wands are the fire in the belly, what we have created. Okay, so we've created thus far everything that we're experiencing collectively, and our choices. Do we go to the grocery store without a mask? Do we, party on the beach with friends? Do we, ignore the law? Or what are we doing? What are we doing? What choices are we making? That wasn't intended to be a political comment. I'm just very worried about a dear friend who's quite ill right now. She's a nurse and picked up COVID, doesn't know where. It's happening, and it's making us fearful. But when we co-create, we have a chance to co-create at the personal level how we want to move through and beyond this. And it depends a lot on who we're listening to. So the card that lays with it is the Movement of Cups, and this is very much about emotion. This is obviously cups are water, water is emotion, and this is fire. This is balancing our emotions and making movement in a good way. This is about harnessing the fears, the anxieties, and saying what's real here. We don't want to make something, co-create with universe, something that's fearful. So what's real? What is in the moment? And this brings us back to mindfulness. As I move around the wheel here, I come again to another Swords card in reverse. This is the Eight of Swords. And this Eight of Swords is just wound up in fearfulness, victimization. And the card that is balancing it is the Heart of Wands. The Heart of Wands in reverse. That's the same as the Queen of Wands. So this is about not getting warped out. These cards seem to alternate. We go from fear to reflection and contemplation and quiet and solitude, back to a place of fear and the kinds of behaviors, the lashing out behaviors, the aggressive behaviors that come when we feel like a badger backed into the corner. As we move around the circle, we come to, again, fear cards and the Movement of Wands. So, we have to, in this time, not let this energy of this Scorpio full moon make us go the pendulum to the extreme end of fear. We have to be very, very careful that we sit. And so how do we fix that? So I went to the ancestor cards. The ancestors tell us to step back and be the observer and watch the lay of the land. We have to be the observer in order to make the right response. Then I got the Garden of Venus, which is rest and renewal. Interestingly enough, closing the door, which is the end of a cycle, acknowledging the end of a cycle. And then finally, the ancestors tell us to treat this time as a gestation period, like the winter's moon. So, the only way we come out of places of fear and just lashing out or going into victim place or letting the energies of this moon make us nuts is to step back and hunker down and treat it like it's the middle of January. And you need to be resting and reflective. And these cards are alternating. Okay? What are we reflecting on? The end of a cycle. So spring seems like the beginning of a cycle, a new beginning, but we're well into the spring, and it's becoming the end of the third wave. At least by the end of this moon cycle, we will be coming out of lockdown again, hopefully, And it's based on our choices, you know. So I pulled some of the Lenormand cards from Patrick's deck and sat them in the position that I would normally with Judith Pintar. And this is birds. Birds are about chatter and communication and being careful of who we're listening to. Because, you know, certain news programs and things would fearmonger and make us feel clouds, overwhelming, and sadness. But our choices of how we see this, the key. We have the key. And what is the key? Knowledge, the book. We do have the way out of what may feel for some. Now, not everybody has the same reaction to a full moon like this. Having had a brain tumor as a teenager, I sometimes experience a perigee full moon as if I've been hit by a train. My head aches and it's migraine-y and depends on my fluid levels. And so one of the proactive things I do is make sure I cut out all salt for at least 3 days. Like, not just no added salt, but eating foods that aren't high in natural sodiums. By keeping my kidneys flushed and clear, I'm taking a proactive step. So by doing that, and you know, I had to have a few difficult learning cycles, I realized I could control not having a migraine for 72 hours. And believe me, when you've had a brain tumor, you know that migraines are not a welcome thing. I pulled out some astrological cards. Actually, it was the angels that suggested the astrology cards. And they're talking about seeing the benefits, looking to the thought process of Jupiter. Now, these aren't cards that relate to this moon cycle in terms of where the planets actually are. These are cards pulled with a message from those planets about this time. So Jupiter is asking us to look at the benefits of this. Maybe the higher water levels will actually clean the land. We're still in that waking up of Turtle Mother and the cleaning of the land. Mercury reminds us to use our mind in a good way. This is our mind in a bad way. This is our mind in a good way. Moon void of course asks us not to look at what we are missing or what we are bereft of, but rather to look at what we don't have to deal with right now. What can we be grateful for? Society has changed. The Buddhist concept of radical acceptance is here. The missing is not something to be sad over. The missing is acknowledging what more BS talk here, what BS we don't have to deal with, what's been pulled out of our daily life's equation. The final card I pulled for today made me feel very happy because it's to do with the 9th house in solar astrology, and that is faith. This faith card is very interesting because it has a hand, which is the dominant image, but above the dominant image is actually a Ouija, what we would call a Ouija board or a scrying board, and the face of a spirit. We need to, this is about faith. We need to have faith. It was the last card of, 16 here that I pulled. Spirit is asking us to have faith that, you know, when the waters of this emotional moon, because there are, you know, high tides of emotion, metaphorically, as well as the U.S. geology's concern about the water on the land. There is an overflow here of things. And Spirit is asking us to have faith that this is a brand spanking new journey. Do not give in to the fear, kids. Pull yourself away, go into this time of reflection. So, if you like this video, please know that in the next few days we're recording a whole new series on tarot and oracles, and it's a free series. It's just about the basics of divination and talking about kinds and types and how you use them, and fun with decks. I'm now, don't tell Brian this, but I'm over 950 decks, and so we're going to look at that. It's not just decks, it's all kinds of oracles of the bones and coins and geomantic things, lots of different cultures in the decks and divination that I have. We're going to be doing that, so if you subscribe to this channel, you'll get an automatic notification about the other kinds of videos that are coming up. Be it tarot, be it talking about the medicine wheel, be it talking about parapsychology and how you clear houses and how you connect with spirit within the domain of the university teachings of parapsychology. How you do psychic mediumship. We're going to be doing a series of videos and actually ultimately courses in that regard. So give us a thumbs up. I don't like saying smash that thumbs up button because I'm not a violent person. I'm a flappy fish. So flap your tail on that button. Subscribe. Give us a comment. Comments help the Google algorithms out there. So